Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to this new edition of the Daily Analysis. Let's start with the usual recap of yesterday, a day that basically this start of the week has been, well, quite positive. Markets which have opened well, no, substantially with a positive tone, and have then maintained it well, except for an initial reversal shortly after the opening. But then the price held up. The market began to slowly rise again, not with a lot of volume. In short, we have to acknowledge that, well, we have witnessed the day with a positive tone, and we need to understand whether all this positivity, will last. For me, the market still remains very much news-driven, so it is limited mainly to those participants that can or might come to the market, so news updates on trade deals or on the Ukraine war front, which it seems once again is now heading towards a new escalation. So there are certainly many important issues to keep in mind. From a macro perspective, the only data today is the JOLTS report around 4 o'clock this afternoon, and then tonight there's the speech by Lagarde regarding the ECB. We'll see if these two events might lead to, well, honestly, I don't think so, and I repeat, in my view, during this period, the market pays little attention to macro data and tends instead to follow, well, the news. Let's look from a technical point of view at what we can expect today. And as we were saying, after yesterday's positive session that led prices to break through this previous pivot, it hovered above it, but then retraced back below. So this is definitely a warning sign, let's say that this rise, frankly, was not supported by significant volume. So, in my opinion, it stands on rather weak legs. We'll see if, this will actually happen. For now, we're working below the BC3 levels of the regular trading hours, that is the opening of the European markets, and we're basically leaning on the pivot that was recorded yesterday at the open. So at this moment, this seems to me to be the level to watch, so the area around 21,440, 21,430. This is the area to monitor, which today corresponds to S-DON. So this is the area to keep an eye on. On the upside, of course, we need to monitor the area of the highs recorded yesterday at the close, so 570, 521.6 is that area, which today corresponds to RD0. So these are the two areas of this range, and until the market opens, let's keep an eye on this level. Obviously, a break below 21,430, 21,400 could easily bring prices back down to retest the area of the lows at 21,280, 21,250, and then the market will decide whether to sink further or find new strength for a rebound. All right, let's move on to ES, which is in a more or less similar situation here. Yesterday just made a slight slip, so we can easily attribute this false break of this high as a fake breakout. In fact, the market from 5,950 has now come back about 30 points, which is quite a lot for the overnight session. At the moment, we're already leaning on this 5,920, 5,915 area, which previously acted as a resistance zone and now obviously serves as a support area. So breaking through this area could bring prices back to test the 5.9 area, and if that breaks, prices could easily return to the 5,850 area. On the upside, of course, we're going to monitor 5,950, 5,960, which is basically the area the highs recorded between the close between the close and the opening of the regular trading hours. This is the area to watch for upward move by the standard of the poor. Let's obviously move on as well. To the other two American future share comes the Dow Jones. In short, you see, the Dow Jones didn't manage to break through the previous low. If we compare it with the other two charts we saw earlier, it stays a bit below. So this is yet another warning bell that yesterday's rise didn't, in my opinion, really have that underlying strong momentum in terms of volumes. At the moment, if the price has rested again in the area 42 and 2, then the holding of this level here, however, corresponds as previously. This was an area of resistance. Now it has become support. So the break of this level downwards would easily bring the prices back into this area. Here, which is all a support area, Euro daily 41 and new 42,000 that we have reported over and over again. On the upside, let's obviously keep an eye on this double top. Well, we can't really call it a double top because it's definitely not a true double top. Let's say these two most recent highs are certainly the resistance level to watch, which more or less corresponds to this area here, the RD0 area for today. Let's move on to the Russell. Here it actually performed even worse than the Dow Jones. As you can see, we've already been working around 250, 260. I mean, so the break of this area, which now acts as support just like for the others, could bring prices down to the 242.35 area, possibly targeting this node here, which then corresponds to the lower value area of the ranges minimum. On the upside, we obviously need to keep an eye on this level here, which is acting as resistance and has held at 275 to 80. In short, it's quite a tough level. Absolutely. Let's move on to the DAX, which even yesterday is showing very, very low volumes, really very low volume. So it's become difficult to trade, at least in my opinion, because I like to work when instruments have volume, you know, to make the movements meaningful. From an operational point of view, well, the market has just opened, and you know, it's trading below the lows recorded yesterday at the close around 10 o'clock. So it's working below, resting on the BC3 levels at the moment. A return into the BC3 range with a break of 24,000 could easily bring prices back to the 23,880, 23,850 area. It could easily go and test these lows here. On the other hand, on the upside, a break of the area of yesterday's highs at 24,100 could bring prices up to 24,2, 24,3 to retest this area here. Let's move on to commodities, starting with oil. Yesterday, well, the week started off in a very turbulent manner, probably as a direct consequence of the Ukrainian attack on the air bases located in Russia. And this definitely created a significant amount of tension in the commodities market, pushing prices up really strongly up to about $64 per barrel, only to then pull back, probably in anticipation of some official statement about the possible de-escalation of this situation, which is becoming increasingly concerning for everyone involved. From an operational standpoint, we have re-entered the BC3 level on the downside. Let's monitor this area here at 62.30, which seems very well defined to me and serves as a pivot for this bullish surge. So let's keep an eye on this low. Here the break of this could easily bring prices back down, leading to a retest and closing of the weekly gap left open around 60, 60.80, 60.61. On the upside, of course, the first obstacle to monitor is 63.20. A breakout with supporting volume could easily bring prices back up to test 63.80, and at that point I would expect a breakout if during this rise towards 63.80 significant volume comes in. All right, let's move on to gold. Here it is. Yesterday it made another strong move, which is after all the other side of the coin, right? Partly as a consequence of these new tensions due to the war in Ukraine, gold is definitely becoming more attractive, and so this has driven the upward push that brought prices back above 3,420, testing 3,420 again, only to then pull back a bit. But in my view, this seems like a normal, healthy retracement. At the moment is hovering around 380. On the downside, we're monitoring 368 and 360, which seems to me to be the key area to watch as it corresponds to this previous high here. So a test of that level is possible, and then it might rebound up. On the other hand, if it doesn't even test this level, it means that the strength of the buyers is quite solid, and if they're already holding it here in this area around the high that formed after this one night, could easily push prices much higher and thus break through the highs recorded at yesterday's close. Let's take a look at SPX as well, just to complement what we've already said about ES. At the moment, we've reached yesterday, we got up to 559.4, which is right in this area that is definitely acting as resistance right now. With this high here at 5,960, just a bit above, which was also the target of the last wave in the analysis we did and presented in this daily analysis, and then posted in the Discord chat. So absolutely on the upside, we need to monitor this area around 5,950 to 5,960, and on the downside, 5,900 seems to me to be the most significant level. Let's keep this in mind as the range. So 5,965, 840, and 5,900 is more or less right in the middle of this range. At the moment, we're basically operating in the upper part of this range, and we'll see if they find the strength to break out to the upside. Let's also take a look at Bitcoin. Here it is, Bitcoin. Yesterday it made a nice upward spike, recovering a bit of the drop that happened between Friday and the weekend. It found a base and support around the 102, 103 area that we've mentioned several times in this daily analysis, and then it showed good strength and broke through the highs that were recorded yesterday. At the moment, it broke through those levels only to fall back below them, so right now it's working around this support at 105.3, 105.2, and roughly 105. This is the support area indicated by these two BC3 levels. A break below this could easily lead prices to retest the lows recorded yesterday. On the upside, of course, if it holds, it could first lead to a test of these highs, and the breakout could also push prices to test this support area that has formed higher up around 107.5 to 107.6. Perfect. With this, we've reached the end of this daily analysis. As always, I invite you to leave a like on the video, follow me on social media, and we'll catch up later in the chat. Thank you all for your attention.